Thank you for tuning into our podcast from the Darkhorse's mouth. Today's episode is episode number 7, Duck, Duck, Goose, Effective Marketing Strategies. And joining us is our co-pilot, Carly.
Hi, everyone.
And our guest, Kristen Geer.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. And Kristen is the Director of Operations over at BNI, Business Networking International.
Mm-hmm.
I can see why they shrunk it to a acronym.
Yeah, so much easier to remember.
Yeah, much easier to remember. So why don't you give us some background on BNI itself as an organization? Mm-hmm. What is it? What's it about? What's the size, scope, scale, all that fun background stuff that if someone hasn't heard of BNI, this would give them a good idea.
Absolutely. So BNI has been around for 40 years. We actually just celebrated our 40th year anniversary in January, which is really exciting. Yeah. We did a lot of celebration at the most recent national conference over in Houston. So we had a big party to celebrate, and it was so great. But right now, so BNI is in 87 countries around the world. We have over 300,000 members, and we pass a ton of business to each other. The whole core philosophy of BNI is givers gain. So when members join BNI, we're always looking to help each other grow each other's businesses versus it's less about what's in it for me, but more about how can I help others, which has been amazing. And BNI as an organization has been in growth mode for the entire 40 years. So that speaks volumes just to the culture that BNI has created over the years by Dr. Ivan Meisner. And it's been phenomenal with members growing themselves, both personally and professionally. So within BNI, with our over 11,000 chapters around the world, and currently here in Arizona, we have 85 chapters.
Wow.
And over 2,200 members.
Wow.
And each of those chapters represents one person per profession in each of the chapters to where they can come, collaborate, build strategic business partnerships with each other. They usually start with the goal of growing their business, but they stay in it for the lifelong relationships that get created over time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I want to get back into the giver's gain in a moment here. And I know that you guys focus a lot on referrals past and let's not do worldwide because that's a mind-blowing number. But let's start small with we're in Arizona, right? So let's start with the state of Arizona. So off the top of your head, what's the 2024 dollar amount of referrals passed?
Yeah, so last year we passed just over $131 million in referral business.
And that's all the small businesses.
It is. So, and it's money going into our members' pockets. So, for example, the real estate agent wouldn't necessarily project the amount of money that the house sold for, but it would be their commission.
Right. So it's true revenue to that business, gross revenue to that business owner.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's a big number.
Yeah.
And how long have you been the director of BNI?
So I've been director of operations for about 5.5 years now. Cool. But I've been with BNI just over 15 years.
Wow. And so I know that you were a small business owner prior, right? And actually you have a unique place in podcast history right now because you're the first non-insurance guest that we've had. Yeah. Now we haven't had a lot of episodes yet, but regardless, you hold that place forever. So
yes, I love it.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal, Kristen.
So why don't you take us a little bit through, rewind the clock a little bit, and take us through kind of your networking journey, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Did it? Did you hit it? Did it all start with BNI, or did you try other things? Like where'd you start, as the small business owner trying to make life happen? And then how'd BNI play into it?
Yeah. So when I joined BNI with my massage business, so prior to even finding out about BNI, I was always trying to build my business through word of mouth marketing. When I first started my business, I was actually a branch manager for a credit union full time and then did massage on evenings and weekends. One of my clients said, you know what, since you're needing to grow your business, you should really look into BNI. I was like, okay, well, as soon as I can leave the corporate world, I will totally look into BNI. Because at the time, having a full-time job and just doing massage part-time, it wasn't enough I wouldn't have the time to commit to BNI. So her and her daughter were referring me like crazy, over hundreds of different people to help me grow my business, get out of the corporate world. So in February 2010, got to a point to where I was able to leave the corporate world. The next week, I submitted my application to BNI to represent my business. Now, through that time, I also was a part of Chamber of Commerce's, did a lot of networking mixers and events, and I was everywhere. Wherever I could put my name out there, I was there.
That's awesome.
Which was great for just meeting new people. But as far as the strategy around building strategic business partnerships and really gaming and accelerating my business, BNI was a huge piece to that puzzle. And through my networking through the chambers and different mixers, I actually found some really amazing people that I brought to BNI to where I could strengthen my relationships with them there.
There you go.
Yeah.
And in BNI and building that network, I guess backing up a little bit to the Chamber of Commerce, right? Because Chamber, every city's got a Chamber of Commerce of some sorts, right? It's a very common place to go.
Yeah.
And how would you differentiate, the traditional Chamber of Commerce against basically BNI in that networking space? That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. So I would say that on the BNI side, it's more of structured networking, because with each of the BNI meetings, there's a specific agenda, and the agenda is designed to produce results for the members. So it's not just getting together and hoping things work. There's a strategy behind the madness, and I think that's why BNI has thrived for 40 years now, because of the structure and the accountability that they hold their members to pass referrals and build relationships with each other.
And I think that's one of the things that I found the most effective and different from BNI is the accountability, because there really is a sense of accountability like no other. And when you're in business for yourself, you also have to exercise that same level of accountability in your business and consistency to have success. And so I think that BNI definitely champions that with its setup, and I hadn't experienced anything like that, which is why why I'd asked. And so when you talk about accountability, can you talk towards the things that members are accountable to?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest pieces is attendance, because you got to show up to win. If you're not visible with the members in the room, you're not going to get a lot of business out of BNI. You won't see a lot of success. So I always tell people it's all about VCP, visibility, credibility, and profitability, and it all starts with that visibility. So you have to be there every week. If you treat BNI as your number one client, it will become your number one client. So making sure that you have the time to dedicate to BNI is the number one thing that I always tell people, that they want to make sure that they can dedicate the time before they even start with BNI. Because it will definitely produce results, but if they're not there,
right,
they won't be top of mind with, in essence, their sales team, because the members of the chapter become their sales partners.
Right.
So every week you're going and representing your business and educating about your business. The intention with the weekly events is to go in educating your sales team what to look for, who to look for every single week. It's not about selling to everyone in the room. It's about selling through everyone in the room. So creating that specific referral dynamic versus just coming into a room with people and trying to sell to everyone in the room, which tends to happen with a lot of networking.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's
sure does.
I love the visibility, credibility, profitability, and of course people have to see you, right? And then it's then you have to get to the credibility piece, which is basically they have to trust you.
Yep.
And typically, in your experience, how long does that take for that trust to be built?
I would say that it depends. It depends on the profession, and we always talk in BNI about the referral confidence curve. Depending on your profession and what types of things that you're doing in your business. For example, a florist, that referral confidence curve will be really low because you don't have to trust someone as hard to buy flowers from a florist.
And you start right before Valentine's Day.
Yes, yes, exactly. Like
that's
the
your
day
entry
before.
point into the group.
That's a great
That's right.
strategy.
But then if you're in like insurance or the financial world, that trust confidence curve will be a little bit longer because it takes some time to build trust to then be able to pass referrals to give someone more personal information about someone else. So I always tell tell people that BNI is a long game versus a short game. It takes time to build that trust.
Yeah. And when you talk about time commitment,
Mm-hmm.
right, on a weekly basis,
Mm-hmm.
like what do you think let's call it the best practices, time commitment is on a weekly basis to have success in a organization like BNI and, that networking structure?
Yeah. So the initial time commitment is definitely the 90-minute meetings. Now, there could be longer meetings depending on the chapter size. So I usually say about 90 to 2 hours for the weekly meeting. And then outside of that, it's all about building relationships. So we encourage members to have what's called one-to-ones, which are meetings outside of the weekly meeting to really build upon those relationships, to learn more about each other, strategize of what their referral sources that they're looking for, what their specific target market is. So that way it builds on that relationship. Because within those weekly meetings, members have about 30 to 60 seconds to give a little education nugget about their business each week. So that time is definitely not long enough to learn all about someone's business. So you want to make sure that you carve out at least an hour or two each week in addition to the weekly meeting to meet on a one-to-one basis with another member or what we call a power team. So within each chapter are little silos of professionals that have the same target market but don't overlap with one another when it comes to their professions. And we call those power teams, and we encourage those power teams to meet at least once a month to strategize with each other, talk about challenges, successes, um, different game plans of what they're doing in business and in life to help each other with different growth.
Got it. And so the power teams are effectively, your vertical, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could be in the
Yep.
financial services vertical, and
Yep.
you've got your, financial advisor,
Mm-hmm.
your mortgage lender,
Mm-hmm.
your real estate agent, your insurance agent, and
Yep.
anyone else that kind of fits together. So that kind of a referral for one is really a referral for all type of thing.
Right.
Is that a good way to describe the power team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got your power team meetings which is meeting within your vertical. Let's call it focus time.
Yep.
You've got your group meetings which is the dynamic of all the different small businesses in the group.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got your one-to-ones, which it sounded like you had recommended 2 a week.
Yeah, we recommend at least one, but to really strengthen on relationships, I say 1 to 2 is really, really great. And you can have those with members of your own chapter, or you can even do them cross chapter, which has been really phenomenal to build relationships either across Arizona or through different states or even across different countries, depending on what connections you're looking for your business.
Got it.
Wow.
So,
I didn't know that was available.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I thought it was within chapters.
No, it's
That's
pretty
even
cool
better.
how the network can kind of extend and expand, and you can find referrals in other networks. In fact, I think that's another one of the things that I found very valuable or find very valuable within BNI isn't the direct referral, someone referring me insurance, but it's the actual connections within the network that we're speaking towards earlier with, I found my marketing company, I need staffing, I found my staffing company, and you start to look around and be like, yeah, a lot was built from that. And back to my time thing, 6 to 8 hours a week.
Yeah, I would say about 6.
About 6.
Yeah.
So in the grand scheme of things, you work 40, now you just work 46.
Yeah.
And problem solved.
Yeah. Well, and we always say that with BNI, you're working on your business versus in your business. So it's a great opportunity to build this into your marketing plan for your business. So that way it's all together.
Okay. And talk to us a little bit more. I know that we talked about it, but a little bit more, dig a little bit deeper on giver's gain and the premise behind it, because that really is I don't know, call it the marquee feature or belief system within BNI.
Yeah. So it's always about the more you give, the more you will gain. It's all about helping each other grow each other's businesses. A lot of times in different networking, people are just out to get business for themselves. It's always about themselves, or they're going around passing out business cards trying to sell you something or sign you up for something. And that's far from what BNI is all about. That was actually one of the things that attracted me in the very beginning to BNI. It was actually refreshing not to be sold to, but more so like, hey, how can I help you? What are you dealing with today? What's your business working on? So that way I knew that I was actively progressing versus just like warding off people trying to sell me something all the time.
Yeah, it's giving without the expectation of getting anything in return.
Yes.
And like truly doing that, and not
Mm-hmm.
just like, well, I know, I sent you that, and I don't want anything back, but you haven't
Wink,
sent me
wink.
anything in a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah, we're going, I sent you that referral. Do you have anything for me?
Yeah, yeah. It really is just truly believing it, and I think that if you truly believe in it and practice it, or operate in the practice of it, that just naturally, you sit there and you're like, man, I feel bad. Like they keep just giving me business, and I'm not getting, like, what can I do to help them?
Yeah.
And I think that's really what facilitates a lot of the growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always focusing on what we can do to help others before it comes back to us. And it always comes back tenfold, especially if we're focusing on making connections. And it may not always be connections about our business, but
Hmm.
you end up being a master connector for your clients, customers, coworkers. Any conversation that you have, when certain key words or phrases start popping up, you're like, oh, I've got a guy or I've got a gal for that. And so you look like a hero to all of the people that you know, and it's then the members are thanking you as well because all the referrals are going everywhere.
Right. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about, like, the typical makeup of a BNI group. Obviously, 85 chapters,
Hmm.
a lot of small businesses,
Hmm.
and they're all unique businesses, right?
Hmm.
You
They
can't
are.
you can't have two massage, therapy companies, or two two of the same contractor, like not two HVACs, et cetera. So it's effectively exclusive,
Hmm. It
right?
is.
And so what's the largest group in Arizona? How many?
So the largest group right now is 96.
96. That's a
Yes.
Wow.
lot of different businesses
It is a
passing
lot of
referrals.
different businesses.
Is bigger always better?
uh
You know,
It depends. I
yeah.
would say it depends on the person. We've had members leave the bigger groups and like smaller groups. I think it depends on a personal preference and
Hmm.
dynamic. I always tell people that if they join the bigger group, really focus in on what I talked about earlier, is those power teams.
Right.
Because it's not about, at that point, connecting with all 96 people. It's connecting with the smaller silos of professionals that are going to be those ongoing referral sources that, and in essence, you would get business from different members outside of that power team. But if you spend a majority of your time focusing on that team, they say about 65% of your business within BNI is going to come from that team. So
Okay.
that would be the main focus.
Right. Got it. And what's the obviously 85 groups.
Mm-hmm.
Every group has an exclusive position. So
Mm-hmm.
if for whatever reason the groups are filled, you start a new group as an option.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, what's the typical makeup of, say, because there's professions that you see in almost all of them,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that core group, and you want to launch with 12,
Um,
15,
so
20?
our
I
all
forget.
all
All
the
of
above.
them?
No, so our
3?
minimum to start a new chapter is 17 currently.
17.
Yep. And then some groups have bigger goals to where they want to launch with a larger number. So it really comes down to that initial group of people. But the core four that we usually say, it's called the firm, the financial advisor, insurance, real estate, and mortgage. Those four professions are usually full in every chapter. And when a position opens up, there's usually 10 to 20 professionals fighting for one of those spots.
There you go. And now
Yes.
everyone hears why this is tied into insurance.
Right.
Yes. It all comes full
It
circle.
all comes full circle. Yeah, those spots are difficult to get. We've had
Yeah.
plenty of agents who, like you said, are fighting for those
Mm-hmm.
spots, and they travel from group to group. Like, am I next? Can I
Oh,
get
yeah.
in?
Absolutely.
Because it is
Absolutely.
powerful. BNI is a very powerful group.
Mm-hmm.
And will you tell us a little bit about some advice you'd give to people who are, I don't like networking, or they're kind of standoffish to it? What would be some advice in terms of getting involved?
Yeah, so I always tell people to go visit a local chapter. Visit a local chapter, experience it for yourself. The cool thing about BNI, especially with having so many different chapters, is that each one has its own personality and culture. And so when someone is initially looking into start networking or even look to start into I always tell them to go and visit multiple chapters
Mm-hmm.
because of the difference between all of them. Yes, they will all have the same structure as far as the agenda and the accountability and all of the things tied in, but each one is unique in the personality and the things that they bring to the table. So And they have a lot of fun too. So it's not like your normal stuffy networking meeting to where it's like super boring. And I
Yeah.
get it all the time to where people for the first time visiting different chapters around town, inside the meeting, we have the section called referrals and testimonials, and the visitors always get to share what they enjoyed about the meeting. And every single time, they always talk about the energy and the fun that the members are having inside the meeting. So it's not just, yes, we have an agenda, but members like to infuse their personalities, and
Mm-hmm.
some chapters are a lot of fun compared to others. So you got to find that happy mix and figure out where you and your business fit into whichever chapter. And the great thing is when we have those big positions open, there's multiple people fighting for a spot. If someone doesn't get a spot, we do have a wait list to where we can let people know when another spot opens up. Or sometimes, especially with the real estate spot, usually it's the real estate agents that will decide to start a new chapter. Now, it's not
Mm-hmm.
always the real estate agent, sometimes insurance, sometimes mortgage, but um, if they don't want to wait on the waiting list for when an opportunity comes up, which doesn't happen often,
Mm-hmm.
um, but that would be kind of the next step, is to kind of bring in your own close circle of people and start your own network.
All right.
Yeah.
That's cool. And what's take us through the typical? I know you just did a little bit, but the
Mhm.
typical application process.
Yeah.
On average, how many meetings are they attending? What's the approval process like, and what's the cost? Right.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So for the application process, when someone submits their application, now if we're talking insurance, so it's a little bit different for a normal profession in BNI outside of those core four. Usually it takes about a 2-week process. But when one of those key positions opens up, we do keep it open for 4 weeks. So that way the membership committees have enough time to vet all the applications that are coming in because there's so much need for those spots.
Mm-hmm.
And so the membership committees, once they get the applications, they'll do an interview process, they'll check references, so they'll contact their business references. They'll also check to see how visible they are online and if they have positive reviews or negative reviews. So
Mm-hmm.
they check all of the different aspects. If they're in the construction fields, they'll make sure they're licensed. Like all of the different things need to check the boxes. And then once all of the reviews are done, the references are checked, then the membership committee and the vice president will get together and vote, and majority vote wins.
Yeah.
As far as cost, there is a one-time application fee of $199. We have a 1, a 2, and a 5-year option as far as memberships.
Okay.
The 1 year is $899, the 2 year is $1599, and the 5 year is $34.99. It can be paid all at once, or we do have the option for a monthly payment plan through PayPal.
Oh wow. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's new.
Newer
Newer.
for about 8 years now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been out of the game for a little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
BNI is great to, launch your business and get going, and then
Yeah.
at some point, things are going so well, you don't necessarily need to devote the time to it.
Right.
But then, you interject and kind of go back and forth, and so $800 a year, but that's a year, like that's nothing. In
Yeah.
the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
for the return on investment
Right.
and the
Mhm.
accountability.
Absolutely.
And really, the way I'm looking at it is your investment's really your time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's just taking that block of time and saying, okay, this is what I need to attribute it to it, and not necessarily, it's not taken away. In my mind, you don't take away from what you're doing; you just extend.
No, you
You're saying
build it
spend
into your
this-
strategy, like you
Yeah.
had mentioned
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah. Building
Into
it into your marketing plan,
Mhm.
because not only is it going to grow your business, but it'll also provide you a lot of things on the back end, such as different resources. So connecting with other professionals, whether it's in the same profession or other professions, because there's so many different experience levels in business and in life within BNI. So as a new business professional, if they're coming into BNI and let's say they have challenges that they're going through in business, they can connect with these resources in BNI and talk about those challenges and figure out how they can resolve it to take it to the next level. Because me as a sole entrepreneur, I didn't have anyone else telling me how to do business or how to expand my business, take it to the next level. I relied on the resources within BNI to talk about their experiences and how they overcame hiring new people, expanding the business, opening up a location, like all of those different things. I wouldn't have known how to do all of that if it weren't for the people and the resources that I met through BNI.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think really that's where the true value lies. I mean, there's value, again, like I had said earlier, in the monetary direct referral. You know, I'm writing your insurance policy, or, you know, whatever your business has to be. But when you have those operational challenges or those business challenges, like I can't hire anyone. Oh, here's a recruiter.
Yeah.
Or there's a lot, you know, the financial planner that I work with, he's an ex-hedge fund manager. He was in BNI because, you know, he needed something to do, but he had already, you know, he had already operated at the highest level possible, and lo and behold, here he is sitting next to me in BNI, and I've gained so much knowledge from that individual that actually even today is helping me on another business idea that is not going to be disclosed at the moment. But it was just some real high level cool stuff. And when you get those high level people, you know, within the group, or it's really what it's about is there's just opportunities. There's just so many people there, and you have so many opportunities and people to bounce things off of that. When you have those opportunities and that access to information, comes back to you, and then you can make decisions based on it versus, you know, you're sitting in your office, not spending your 8 hours a week in that environment. And you're trying to figure stuff out, however you're trying to figure it out. And it's really, you know, you talked a little bit about the, you know, it takes time to build, but really it's a shortcut. You know, really the 6 to 18 months it takes to really get in there, get involved, develop a relationship is really a shortcut in the grand scheme of things, because once you have it, it's built.
Yeah. It's lifelong relationships that you're building within BNI. And the cool thing is you can also connect with people in your own profession, because we talk a lot about it's not about competition in BNI. When you're out in the marketing world, a lot of people view as other people in the same industry as competition. But in BNI, you want to think of it as collaboration. Come in with the abundance mindset that there's enough business to go around for everyone. Because when you have that, so many more doors are going to open when you don't guard yourself away from different connections. So I always tell people to not only build power professional relationships with people that are going to be in your contact sphere with different professions, but also connect with people in your own profession, because you never know where you might get the next idea or even the next referral. If you specialize in something that they don't, or vice versa, having those relationships is so amazing.
Yeah. And in addition to that, just from the relationship standpoint, you know, I was just thinking about it while you're talking, you've got a ton of educational resources too. And I think you alluded to it earlier, but you know, you've got, what do you have? You've got podcasts, right?
Yep. We've got podcasts. We have a online system called BNI Business Builder. So it has a lot of courses, not just on the BNI education side on how to be a better networker, but we've brought in a lot of outside speakers on all different topics of how members can expand their business as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
That is great. Tons of resources.
Yeah. So I think I've asked all the questions that I had. Is there anything else related to BNI that, you know, has kind of come to mind, or you want to talk about, or that I missed?
I could talk all day about BNI.
Keep going. We got time.
No. I mean, one of the things that you also want to make sure is that you come in with the right mindset with the BNI, because it's not just a meeting. You want to come in with the intention of creating strategies with the tools and resources that BNI has to provide. Because if you just view it as a 90-minute meeting, we call them 90-minute members. If you just come to the weekly meeting and you don't do anything else, you're not going to get results. It's much more than just that meeting. So new people coming into BNI, one, they definitely want to focus on building those relationships. That's really, really key. When you first join BNI, it's like drinking from a fire hose. There's a lot of information coming at them all at once on how to do BNI, how to be a better networker, all of the things. So not only do they want to focus on building relationships, but also learning as much as they can. And if they focus on those pieces in the beginning, they're going to really build a strong foundation within BNI. So that way they're viewing things that aren't just, okay, I just have this one meeting to go to and that's it. It's no, we need to build relationships. We need to schedule the one-to-ones. You want to do all the learning because new members will go through what's called member success program training in the first 60 days of their membership to learn all the ins and outs of how to be the best BNI member that they can be. So it's not just coming in and guessing how to do
Right.
BNI. We provide so much education for them. And I do a weekly video every single Wednesday called Wisdom Wednesday that also acts as some more education for our members throughout the region, which works really, really well. But coming prepared to the weekly meetings as well is going to be extremely key to build your visibility and credibility within BNI. If you come in just winging it about your business or say, oh, well, I've had members show up a week and like, oh, I don't know what to ask for today. And then just sit down. I'm like, you just ruined a perfect opportunity to educate us about your business. So you want to take advantage of all of the different opportunities for more visibility within BNI. Each chapter has leadership and support team roles, which also help increase your visibility and credibility in BNI with participating on higher levels within BNI. So there's a lot of different opportunities to not only expand their business, but expand themselves personally. I always tell people if they know people that are deathly afraid of public speaking, this is the best place for them. They will come kicking and screaming, but they will thank you later. That was me over 15 years ago when I first joined BNI. I was deathly afraid of public speaking. My hands would get sweaty, my stomach would get sick, especially as the members were coming around doing the weekly presentation. I was like, oh, I'm not going to last a year in BNI. This is physically hurting me. But my director at the time, she's like, just stick with it. It'll get better. I was like, I don't know if this is going to get better. This is awful. Because as you can imagine, as a massage therapist, it's me and another person in a dark room. We don't talk for hours.
Right.
So talking in front of people doing public speaking was not my jam. So, and within those weekly meetings, each member gets to rotate through a 10-minute feature presentation. When it was my time to give the 10-minute, I was like, oh, can you like push me like next month or maybe 2 months or maybe not even schedule me at all? Like, I really don't want to stand up and give a 10-minute presentation. They're like, no, this is your day. You have to go. I was like, oh, this is awful. But I'm glad they pushed me to do it because getting outside my comfort zone built my confidence, which over time it did build my confidence in public speaking, which then it translated all into my business. It definitely came full circle. So anytime, I love seeing new people now coming into BNI that are super shy. They're reading from a paper and they're shaking or reading from their phone, talking about their business. And you could tell that they were just so nervous. But then visiting them a couple months later, they're a little bit better. And then a couple months later, they're even a little bit better. And then like they'll be in BNI for years and you'll just see the personal growth for themselves. And it's such a great experience.
Yeah, the whole time you're talking, I'm just like me, because I was the same exact way. I mean, it really takes you outside of your comfort zone, and it's one of those things. And I'm not, public speaking isn't my favorite thing in the world to do, or a lot of that type of stuff. But really, BNI was it's great training from that capacity. It's a great way for you to kind of, the commercials are 60 seconds.
Yeah, for the smaller chapters. So our 96 member chapter, they have 20 seconds.
Yeah, 20 seconds. So I
mean, their spiel.
Because you could say something for 20 seconds, right? So it's just
you got to be on point.
I think that half the time, a lot of the battle is just getting out there and doing it and taking action. And it's just, even the person that's sitting there, shivering, with their paper, they're there.
They're doing it.
They're doing it.
And that's what it takes to really get over it. And I speak from personal experience because I've been one of those people.
Oh yeah.
For a while, and sometimes still am. If I don't do something like that for a while, I go back and do it. I'm like, oh man, I gotta really prepare for this. And and so I can totally relate to that. And I think that it's one of those things that if it's something that you're just think to yourself like, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. It's probably something you need to do.
Right. Yeah. Right. Sometimes the scariest decisions are the right decisions.
Yeah, and they're the ones that are gonna probably move the needle in your business. The one thing that you haven't done is the one thing that you probably need to do to get to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's pretty cool, just the overall different benefits that BNI has outside of just business, because it provides personal growth. And BNI members, in essence, become a second family. There's so many stories where members have been the first people to jump in when a member has a personal situation come up, whether it's a death in the family or they just got diagnosed with cancer. And so members are jumping in like Johnny on the spot, setting up meal trains, babysitting, like you name it. They are the first to like rally behind you in everything in business and in life.
Yeah, well, it builds community.
Yeah, it
right?
does. It does.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Anything else? You got more? You got more for us?
Let's see. Well, and so one of the things that if a business wants to have connections nationally or internationally, we do host national events every single week. So we do a national speed networking event every Tuesday.
Is it digital?
It's on Zoom.
Like Zoom. Okay.
Yep. So BNI members can log in and connect with members cross state. So especially for like the insurance world, if you have licenses in different states and want to connect with different members, or even if there's some states that you're not licensed in, connecting with insurance professionals in the states that you're not licensed in so that we can build connections all over. That would be a perfect opportunity
How are those events structured? Are they like is it structured like a BNI meeting where you're giving commercials and talking? Is it like how's it structured so that if I'm someone and I'm looking at it, let's just say from a United States basis, and I'm looking for whatever I'm looking for, how's the meeting structured so I can get my message across or make an ask or whatever?
Yeah. So within those speed networking events, they actually set up little breakout rooms so you can have one-to-one like mini meetings with different people that are within the speed networking. So it's kind of like speed dating, but online, because then you're getting to rotate and talk to all different people that are within that event.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. We're going to have to check that out.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
would be interesting.
Yeah. Any of the members can go to bniarizona.com and click on the calendar link to sign up for the weekly speed networking.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Anything
else?
You got more?
Well, the other thing that BNI, where we shine apart from other organizations, is that we track all the results. So we have an online app called BNI Connect where you can track all your referrals, all the revenue received from your business, and tracks all of the BNI activity as well. So all the one-to-ones, the chapter education units. So we're all about tracking all of your lifelong learning activities within BNI. And the cool thing is you can track your return on investment within BNI within that app. And from the palm of your hand, you can also connect with any of the 300,000 members around the world through the global search right through the BNI Connect app. So it's one of the unique features that I found that like chambers and those types of things don't have, is a way to track all of the activity electronically. So let's say I pass you a referral through our BNI Connect system. It'll automatically ding you through the app saying that you received a referral. And the cool thing is you don't have to keep logging into the app for those communications and connections. It'll all communicate through your email.
That's cool.
So if you have questions regarding the referral and you message that member back, it'll just be a communication through email at that point.
Yeah, that's very, very efficient too.
Yeah.
And effective, so you're not missing anything. And there's I call it the feedback loop, right? So there's feedback on like, hey, I gave you, because there's nothing worse than like I gave you a referral, but I don't know what happened to it.
Right. Well, and it'll
good, bad, or otherwise.
Right, absolutely. And it also allows you to kind of go through your activity and follow up with referrals that you passed, referrals that you received. You can go through and update the referral statuses so that way you can track, okay, did I get this business? Did they not call me back? You can track all of that through that app. And regarding the closed business and how much business you're getting, you'll be able to see how much business that your business is getting, but that number is confidential. So for a lot of like financial professionals, legal professionals, they can't really disclose how much they are gaining from a referral.
Right.
But within the BNI Connect app, they can still enter in that business, but no one will know where that came from.
Right.
Because it's only thanking the member that passed the referral, but it doesn't say who submitted it when it comes to the reporting side, which is nice, but in their own like app, it'll keep a tally of how much business they've received personally, but they're the only ones that can see that number, which is nice.
Yeah, it's awesome, which helps them, facilitate the referrals, determine what's my ROI against my $800, which again is, from my point of view, is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's really not a big cost in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it is, it's a big cost for a lot of people. But there is certainly a return on investment and a mechanism to track that, which
Absolutely.
is super cool.
Absolutely. And I would say the only other cost associated with BNI is based on each individual chapter, because there is a venue cost depending on if the venue charges the chapter. So each chapter, when they select a venue, whatever that venue is charging them, they split it between all the members. So that would be the only additional cost associated with BNI.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all I had for you.
Sweet.
I won't ask you anything else again. But I will end on we like to end the segment with ask me anything, which is just any question that you may have for myself personally, professionally, as we were going through this, and I'll do my best to answer.
Sweet. Well, I talked a lot about the national information. So as far as the insurance world, is there a big trend to connect with people nationally?
That depends on the agent.
Okay.
But I will say holistically, yes. And what I'll bring it back to is you used to have, they call them captive insurance agencies. That's like your, State Farm, Farmers, Allstate, your neighborhood farmer's agent. Well, before you had all this technology, you had your neighborhood, right? And so that was your sales territory, right?
Yeah.
Well, now with technology, it's as big as you want it to be. And so as it relates to insurance, depending on the agent, some agents want to stay in Arizona. They want to stay in their backyard. Some want to stay in their zip code. Some want to stay in their state, and then some want to stay in the United States. I prefer a bigger bucket of people to work with personally, but some people want to focus and they've got their target markets and stuff like that. So to answer your question, it depends on the agent, but yes, it does expand across the U.S. And oftentimes, if people, they own a house, maybe they live in Arizona, but they own a house in Montana or whatever. You want to be able to write that house in Montana. Or the other thing too is, you look at referral sources, mortgage, real estate, but really mortgage, they're licensed to write business in more than one state. They're often in like 10, 15, sometimes even 20 states.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at being an insurance agent and being an actual solution to that loan officer, you can't write in just one state,
right,
or be licensed. You have to write in all 15. Otherwise, you're only a solution 10% of the time to their total 100% of challenges that they have. And so that's, again, where if you look at it from the direction of how do I satisfy my referral partners, my one-to-many marketing sources, I like to call them, you need to be able to have a large enough scope to create a solution 100% of the time so that the adoption of that referral partner is also at 100%.
Yeah, no, totally makes sense.
Thank you for tuning in to our podcast from the Darkhorse's Mouth. If you want to learn more about us, go to darkhorseinsurance.com.
And follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn at Darkhorse Insurance Brokers, and email any questions to podcast@darkhorseinsurance.com. Thank you.